trust me?
But I did want to get to the first part of my stream, and that is my review for The Last of Us, Episode 7, chat. Left Behind, which is based on the DLC campaign of the first Last of Us game. I guess in the remake of it recently, chat. I didn't play the remake of the game. I've only played the original PS3 and the PS4 remaster. But I guess in the remake, they actually incorporated that into just the main campaign. You just go right into it after like a certain section of the main game, which I think, that's pretty inspiring. I think that was good. And they kind of do the same, with the series chats, not like, they go through The Last of Us and it's like, hey, check out this mini movie that we did, a companion piece, Last of Us. Like, no, it's very much a part of the series chat. And of course, this is taking place after some pretty exciting and sad events in which Joel has been stabbed by, I don't know, like a broom handle or a bat handle that's been sharpened, chat. Got stabbed right in the gut. He's not doing well, chat. And, he's basically saying, Ellie, you got to get me out of here. You got to leave, abandon me. She's like, no, I'm not giving up on you. I'm not giving up on another person. That's pretty much how the episode starts, chat. And just to say briefly, because I did my own review of episode 6. And a lot of people were saying that episode 6 was just filler. And, I vehemently disagreed with that consensus from some. I thought that was some really important character building work, both especially for Joel, but also for Ellie. And I loved how they interacted with different people on that compound chat, whether it was, Joel with his brother or, Tommy's wife. Thought that was handled very well. And just seeing Ellie's reactions to like, oh, this is kind of what normal civilization is. It's pretty cool. And I will say, the start of this particular episode chat, which, most of it is a flashback. We see what happened to Ellie before she met Joel, before she was bitten, before they realized like, oh shit, you're immune to this fungus, which has devastated the world. Like, one of the things I liked about it is how there was a lot of world building in this episode, because we kind of see what it's like for a kid to live in the QZ. Because after the whole introduction to, like, Ellie panicking, not knowing what to do with Joel, who just wants, her to just leave him there to die. We have that flashback, and I love that we start, and it's like, oh shit. It was like I was hitting my own flashback, during PE chat. During physical education, during gym, where all the gym teachers makes us all fucking run around the gymnasium and everything. And it's just like, Jesus, this sucks. Can we just play something fun or whatever? Maybe play some dodgeball. I don't know. And of course, Ellie, she's just minding her own business. She's running, she's trotting and stuff. And of course, you get bullies. You get some bullies, chat. But the thing is, usually I'm like, oh, here we go, bullies. But at the same time, I understand why bullies would exist in this kind of situation. Because, in school chat, bullies are shitty. Of course they are. Of course they're going to be messing with you no matter what. And, she's very much on her own. She's a little different from the other kids. She's a little snarky. She's definitely smarter than most of these kids who are all kind of being trained. That's what this whole thing is, chat. She's part of this program in the beginning where she's being trained to be a nice little, goose-stepping fascist. Right? And apparently, she's not following the program. She's not goose-stepping fast enough, and this pisses certain people off, chat, and that gets her in trouble. But I just like how they established, like, this is what we have. This is the program that you've entered into, okay, both to keep you safe. But I like her interaction, like in the beginning when she's talking to, I guess, the headmaster, the person who's kind of in control of the program, teaching these kids, to be like, good little fascist officers. Because I like how he just explains the situation. Like, listen, this could be a cushy job for you, all right? And he pretty much says like, oh yeah, we're corrupt. Oh yeah, this whole program, everything, like the Fedra and all that, oh, it's incredibly corrupt, right? But don't you want to be a part of that corruption? Wouldn't you like to be a nice big cog in the corruption, and all the little smaller cogs can all suffer? Wouldn't that be great? And she's, I guess. It's like, yeah, it's like when it's cold out, we're going to be nice and roasty toasty inside, where the rest of these schmucks who aren't going to make it to, 35, probably going to die and freeze to death, right? And when it's hot outside, we'll have plenty of water, we'll have extra resources, but you gotta follow the program, Ellie, okay? But she doesn't want to follow the program. So all of that, I thought, this is pretty good. That's just pretty good. Sets up that she's not about Fedra, that she's very concerned about this whole situation. But of course, the big focus is on the character of Riley Abel, who is both the best friend of Ellie and also her original romantic interest. It's basically this budding romance between these two characters and their last day spent together because Riley, who has left the little goose step and fascist program, she comes back, joined the Fireflies, and she wants to spend this day, this perfect experience with Ellie. And I have to say, I'm unfamiliar with the actress who plays Riley here, Storm Reed. I believe that's her name. But she does a good job, and both her and Bella Ramsey have a great chemistry with each other. I buy their friendship. I buy their romance. All of that really, really works. And we also see throughout this episode, it's this is why, based on this experience she has with Riley and everything that they go through, the trials, tribulations, and the tears and the laughter and everything else, why she is the way she is with Joel. Because occasionally we cut back to the present, in which she's just tearing apart this house, trying to help Joel, trying to sew up his bat stab wound, Chad, because he got stabbed by a sharpened baseball bat in the tummy, and that's not good. So she's trying to do all that at the same time. But then it makes sense as to why she is doing this with Joel, why she doesn't want to be alone, because of the circumstances and the way things played out in this particular episode, the things that played out with Riley, which I don't want to reveal too much, obviously. I want people to experience this for themselves. The thing is, though, I've been praising this, and you're saying this is doing well, and there's some great world building here, and I like how they, very blunt and kind of honest about, yeah, listen, we know we are. It's just but wouldn't you want to be a part of that? This little fascist goose stepping operation we got. I was like, this is kind of cool. The stuff that they added. Again, it's always the stuff that they added to this, and I'm like, yeah, this is good. I'm really enjoying this for the most part. Yeah, this is nice. The thing is, and I've said this before, this was kind of my criticism of episode 4, is that they are attempting to do really iconic moments from the game, right? In episode 4, it was that scene in which you get surprised by those raiders, and you crash the car, and you're fighting in that convenience store, and Joel's just doing some horrific shit to them. Just messing them. It's whoa, it's crazy. And the show, it's just kind of this blasé action scene. They seem to be hiding how violent Joel actually is. I was like, this is a generic shootout. I was like, okay, whatever. This one, they're pretty much doing the same things in which you do in the DLC with the character of Riley, which it's not really, I guess part of that DLC is action, because you do some action stuff in the present, trying to look for materials to help Joel. And this one is primarily just focused. So that's kind of broken up by combat, and then we're going to have a nice little wholesome section of Riley, more combat, wholesome section of Riley. So much of this is just pretty much time spent with Riley, and they're emulating so much of the game, word for word, shot for shot. And again, it's hard for me to separate just my experience of that game, because, as I said before, it's so cinematic, it's so well acted, and so well written. And this in this episode, it's well done. It's well done. But I just, for some reason, where I was, watery eyed when I was playing the game in certain situations based on what happens, here, I just wasn't. A lot of the, I think, big emotional, impactful moments that they intended to, make me feel something, just it didn't really hit for me, and I feel again, I think the show is, thankfully it's pleasing a lot of fans of the games, has been pleasing me, but, I feel if you hadn't watched this, people go this was great. But I don't know, there's just something about it where it didn't hit me as hard, some of the big emotional gut punches, and I don't think it's paced particularly well, because that's the other thing, because occasionally in that DLC, they'll break it up with some combat stuff, and then you go back to the wholesome section, then combat. And here, it's pretty much just a shot of, we're doing all the moments between Riley and Ellie. And again, both actresses are doing well. You get the sense they're friends, and they want to be more than that, and that works. But yeah, there's just something about it, chat, that it just didn't have the same emotional impact with me, and how they kind of paced it out. It didn't always work. I don't think it's a bad episode in any case, but I also don't think it's a spectacular episode either. To me, this, if I were to say, this is probably the weakest, I would say, since episode 4 for me. I understand like how it's important to show Ellie's backstory and the reasons, she is the way she is based on the circumstances of that flashback. I'm like, yep, totally understand. But yeah, just the way it was kind of edited together and paced. That was the thing. It was kind of like technical side of things that weren't working for me very well. But I still think it's an entertaining episode, and I still think there'll be some great stuff, and people will have some, emotional reactions. I think those gut punches will hit for a number of people. But yeah, it just lacked a certain drama to it. But I am excited, Chad, because we're in the end game now. I mean, we're getting into the penultimate episode, which is crazy that I guess the penultimate episode is dealing everything with the winter section. With David, with the character of David, who I'm a big fan of. The winter section was always my favorite part of The Last of Us because of, well, those who play the game that you know for a variety of reasons. And then the final episode was like, wow, look, unless they're going to be pretty long. It's crazy how they've been able to fit so much of this game into just 9 episodes. I would have said like, oh, you can do the first game. Yeah, 2 seasons easy. Got plenty of wiggle room doing new things. But they're like, no, we're just doing 9 episodes. Not even 12, not 13. Okay. So I don't know. But I'm interested to see how they're going to handle the penultimate. That's usually going to be a big one. Of course, the finale, Chad. I'm very, very curious. But that's just kind of my thoughts on this most recent episode. I actually don't know what kind of the general consensus is on. I know a lot of people are excited with this, since this is like a favorite, like one of the most beloved pieces of DLC, and it's a DLC I really love too. It's great, but I'm very curious to hear from other people how they felt about this episode. Did you have any problems with some of the editing, some of the pacing of it? What'd you think, chat? Let me know.